Welcome, dear friends, to our cozy corner on Turkish Spotlight Secrets, the place where feelings are narrated with trembling breath, where whispered scenes are transformed into vivid stories, and where every heartbeat finds an echo. Before we dive into tonight's tale, a gentle reminder: subscribe, drop a like, and if you want to support our journey even more, tap join and stand with this family of romantics. And as always, remember this is a dramatized, imaginative retelling for entertainment, drawn from the public aura of your favorite stars. With that said, close your eyes and step with us into an evening along the Bosphorus that no one present will forget. What began as a simple dinner in an elegant, quiet restaurant turned into a moment that felt suspended outside of time. The evening had been orchestrated by Barış with a precision he rarely shows in public, the kind of careful planning that reveals what words sometimes cannot. For months, say those closest to him, there was an idea circling in his mind, a thought he struggled to put into language, as if speaking it aloud might rob it of its magic. Yet Friday arrived with soft winds and warm lights on the water, and the plan he had guarded so closely finally took shape. No drama was expected. The dinner had been set as intimate and serene. Soft candles flickered along the table, their glow feathering over glass and silver. Rose petals traced a design only he and the staff understood, a trail of color leading nowhere and everywhere at the same time. A few close friends sat nearby, not by chance, but by deliberate invitation. They hadn't been called to a party, they had been asked to witness something that mattered. It was a choice that fit the man. Quiet gestures, careful preparation, meaning tucked into details. The restaurant waited with them. The waiters moved as if taught by silence, leaving dishes and disappearing without a word, as if they too were participants in an unwritten ritual. Outside, the water pressed its hush against the shore. Inside, the air felt like a held breath. The evening advanced through courses and conversation, through stolen glances that said more than any toast. Then the moment came after dessert, with nothing to announce it but a change in the rhythm of Barış's breathing. He rose from his chair, slow but sure, a man balancing on the line between courage and fear, reached into his jacket, and produced a small box wrapped in dark velvet. Friends who had suspected, and those who had not, suddenly shared the same clarity. In the hush that followed, he turned toward the woman who has long been a symbol of light in his world and bent to one knee. His voice did not try to impress. It trembled, and the tremble was honest. He looked up at Elçin and said, "I didn't prepare a speech because nothing I rehearsed sounded true enough. I have a heart that learned its language beside you, and it has been yours since the first look that made the rest of the room disappear. If you'll let me, I want to spend my life learning the rest." A beat, as if even the Bosphorus waited. "Marry me." Silence arrived like a blessing. People who love stories speak of seconds that change everything. Those seconds unfolded right then. Elçin lowered her gaze, her hands covering her face as tears slipped free, not as doubts, but as the body's way of surrendering to feeling. Those who stood near enough to see will never forget the first spark of her smile breaking through the tears. When she looked up, her voice carried both ache and relief. "Yes, Barış," she whispered, and then, steadier, "yes. I spent so much time holding back words that belonged to you all along. If you choose me now, I choose to stay for every season that follows." Did your chest tighten hearing that? Tell us later what part sent a shiver through you, because even the most cautious among the guests felt it. The room softened. Friends exhaled. Some clapped quietly, others pressed their palms together as if prayer had found them by surprise. She stood and reached for him, and their embrace was long and unguarded, the kind that speaks of roads walked separately and the grace of finding one another again. Though the guests had promised discretion, the world has its way of learning what the heart wishes to keep. Someone close to Elçin, swept up in the beauty of the instant, snapped a photo of the clasped hands and the velvet box half opened. Later, in a shaky burst of emotion, she posted a brief story with a single sentence that traveled faster than any explanation: "What's real knows how to return." The phrase was enough. Within minutes, the image and its caption lit up feeds and timelines, a spark catching on dry grass. Fans who had held on to hope began celebrating, not as spectators, but as people who felt they had waited alongside them. This is not just a proposal. It's proof that time can mend what pride once frayed, one wrote, the comment piling on hearts and replies. Another added, I never stopped believing the path would lead them back. For many, it wasn't the spectacle that mattered, but the tenderness of the quiet decision. More details soon slipped out like seashells uncovered by a retreating tide. It turns out that Barış had ordered the ring months earlier, long before any whisper of this night had reached public air. It was singular and deliberate, a blue sapphire at the center, luminous and deep, surrounded by small diamonds that held its color the way stars cradle the night. Sapphire, the choice said without speaking, for fidelity, protection, continuity, a promise not to dazzle, but to endure. I needed the piece to say everything I couldn't fit into sentences, he reportedly told a confidant. Let it declare that there was never another choice. Once the ring found its home, joy broke over them without restraint. As soon as she accepted, Elçin rose, closed the space between them, and folded into his shoulder, the kind of embrace that empties the lungs and fills the soul. According to one guest, she whispered against his ear, "Thank you for holding on when I couldn't find the way. Thank you for returning." The words were soft, but they landed like thunder. The room turned buoyant. Laughter began to surface. Glasses lifted not for noise, but for recognition, a toast to a reunion that once seemed unlikely, to patience that earned its reward. The friends gathered closer, careful not to press too hard on a moment so delicate it might shatter, and yet strong enough to carry them all. And then, as always happens when love steps into the light, talk shifted to what comes next. It seems the two dream of a spring ceremony, surrounded by green and birdsong, far from the heavy gaze of flashing cameras. They imagine a celebration lean and heartfelt, for the ones who kept them steady when the road seemed unkind. Among the names that surfaced for Elçin's dress were designers whose work she has long admired, Zeynep Tosun and Bora Aksu, artists who understand how to craft elegance that moves like breath. As for a place, suggestions ranged across familiar maps and far horizons. Cappadocia's surreal valleys, the wind-bitten poetry of the Aegean coast, or even a hidden destination beyond the borders where they might walk without being recognized, leaving footprints only for themselves. Yet what fascinated the public wasn't merely the wedding chatter. It was the sense that a story interrupted by distance and silence had found its rhythm again. Not everyone gets the chance to begin anew with the same person, someone wrote, a thought that collected thousands of nods. They do. And they are brave enough to choose it. A belief in second chances became the evening's unofficial chorus. Do you believe in a return written by fate? Imagine it with us and share what your heart says. Because, predictably, circles from their past reacted in soft waves, some stayed respectfully quiet, others sent subdued well wishes, gratitude wrapped in brevity. A former colleague of Elçin, a friend from sets and long shooting nights, typed, "When love keeps knocking, destiny opens the door. Proud of you, my fierce girl." It was a simple message, and it carried the weight of those who had seen both of them struggle and bloom. Meanwhile, life offstage marches on. Professionally, both remain anchored in their craft. Barış absorbed in a new television venture, focused with the discipline that made his name, while Elçin prepares a drama already stirring anticipation for next year. But those who truly know them say that this chapter may rearrange the furniture of their priorities. In a candid moment, shared with someone who won't betray confidences, he confessed, "I chased work for so long I forgot the simplest truth. Happiness with the person I love is not a trophy you set on a shelf, it's a garden you water daily." And so a chapter ends that could have been pulled from a tender novel, if it weren't stitched together from real human fragility and courage, even in this dramatized retelling meant only to entertain. It carries the marks of pauses and returns, of stubborn hope and careful planning. It reminds us that the grandest scenes can unfold not under spotlights, but in the hush of a room overlooking a dark river, where two people decide to speak their private vows first with their eyes. We want to hear you. Did you envision this ending? Do you think spring will truly witness their promises spoken aloud beneath open skies? Share your thoughts below and keep this conversation warm. And if this story wrapped itself around your evening, don't leave without supporting the home that brought it to you. Like the video, subscribe to Turkish Spotlight Secrets, ring the bell so you never miss a beat, and press join if you wish to lift our work even higher. Until next time, we'll be right here at Turkish Spotlight Secrets, where every emotion finds its voice and every whisper becomes a tale worth telling.